to the Listening to Smile podcast. We have an amazing guest today, and I'm super excited to dive in with Evan Lampkin from Charleston, South Carolina. Um, my meeting with Evan, I'm going to go into this real short here, was kismet, if you will, a happen chance, right? Is that how they say it, Evan? But I met Evan when he was at work, and he was listening to some music in a retail store. This was years ago, I think like 2015 maybe. And he was just listening to awesome music at work, and it started a conversation that created a friendship that has lasted for, years, and just a lot of creative work together, and a lot of learning for both parties, myself and himself included. We've just really become great friends, and I'm super excited to welcome him to the show. And I just want to say thanks so much, Evan, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a long ride, long time coming, huh? You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well, let's dive in, man. Let's get a little background. Can you tell me a little bit about how many instruments you played and what was first? Like, what were some of the first instruments that you picked up, as far as, playing music and getting involved in music? What was your first start there?
sure. Um, so my first instrument, that was the piano. I came from, I really wouldn't say it's a musical family. My mom was definitely musical. She is musical. She's a singer, a wonderful singer, very, very, very talented, and she would sing around the house all the time. And we had a piano growing up, and I sat at the piano one day. Well, I would sit at the piano a lot and just tinker around. But apparently, I was playing something over and over and over again, which obviously got her attention. Um, but what she noticed is that it was just repeating. There was this melody, and it had parts and sections, but it was repetitive, and so it was a song, became a song. That was my first composition, and that was when I was 7. So started on piano at 7, and then from there, uh, we, my brother and I auditioned for the Charleston County School for the Arts here, but at the time they did not have a piano as a major. They didn't
Yeah,
offer that. So what they did offer for the people that did audition on piano, you had the opportunity to pick a major. So we picked band. For me, I wanted to play brass, and I picked the hardest instrument that they told me was French horn. So I said, let me try that. I want to do that. And my brother stuck with woodwind, and so then became well that led to French horn. French
yeah,
horn, that was my main. French horn would be the instrument that would catapult my musical career, my young musical career.
mm,
Um, yeah, that was the start for that was for me. That was the start when okay, this is when you now you're taking music seriously. Before it was oh this is fun. This is really neat. I think I like this. I'm not sure. My parents are kind of pushing me to do this and that. Um, but I mean, you still felt that pressure, but it was really neat because you were now we got to explore different instruments. So from then we found there was a drum set in my house. My oldest brother Bryce was interested in playing music at one point too.
yeah,
Um, he still is a musician. He's more into hip hop production and stuff like that.
yeah,
But earlier on he started with piano as well, and then I guess drums. He tried,
yeah,
and so we had this drum set that was great for me. So I immediately started tinkering with the drum set. It wasn't even all there. That was the best part. I think I was missing some core pieces. I don't even think I had a kick drum pedal. I mean, I had another stick. I was just hitting the kick drum with it. Anything to just get it started.
Yeah.
So I started that way. Started messing with the drums. So it was piano, French horn, drums. Um, so those three instruments were the start. So drums, I was able to incorporate that into jazz band at the School of the Arts. So French horn and drums at School of the Arts. Piano would just be there, would always be there. It's still there. It's still the main bread and butter for, all the compositions and the things that I write. And it would just throughout my musical career. I would still play piano at school a lot of times. Eventually, they incorporated a piano major, so we're able to go and play piano, and you know that was neat. Um, Other than that, I really didn't start messing around with more of like a modern style instrumentation. So, for example, electric bass, electric guitar, until probably my junior year of high school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always either playing drums or piano or French horn.
So you were like 16, 17,
Let's
probably.
see. Yeah, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, so isn't it interesting, man, how life is like your brother tried his hand at drums and then they were just there for you to step into that role of experimenting and then eventually becoming a full-on drummer and just a multi-instrumentalist in general. I mean, you play bass, guitar, drums. I mean, pretty much any instrument that I've seen you pick up, you've, done amazing with. And that, how much of a role do you think that classical training had in developing you as a musician? Do you think that that was a crucial thing that you needed, that structure to help develop a foundation for all of this, or do you feel like it was just something that was naturally there, a talent that you were able to tap into?
Oh, no, absolutely. The classical training that was, I honestly don't know if I would be where I am without it.
Yeah,
And that's a weird response from me, but what it is it's kind of a two-sided response, right? So it's I don't know as in it is so important to me still, and it also is as in I don't know as in who knows? You
yeah,
know, I have no idea. I could
yeah,
be writing a completely different style of music that, or all of us, a lot of us could have,
yeah,
even with you, if you didn't have your training, what you could be doing something, some, we could be on a Sun Ra level right now, or, or just beyond. We don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, the classical training, I am so grateful and thankful for it. For a major component of that, though, for me, is that with piano, I don't think I would be able to play drums if I didn't start with piano.
yeah,
Because when I started playing piano, being able, well, having to have to focus on, this is my left hand, this is my right hand. They're going to start doing different things at different times or, at the same time. And here's my right foot, with my sustain pedal or, with accents or muting. It's going to do something at a different time or at the same time. That just started to unlock. And then when as years go on and you start to progress and practice and play and perform and just get lost in your craft, or just for me, at least, me getting lost in my craft, I just, I forgot about the left hand, right foot, left foot. It just was music.
yeah. The
And
emotion.
yeah, and I just forgot about, okay, to make to write something that sounds like this, I need to play this note, or my hands need to be here, or this is what it'll sound like or look on paper.
Yeah.
And it just all that went away.
Yeah.
And the training side of things just became embedded, and then it just became about composition.
Mhm.
Period. By all means necessary composition. And um I remember feeling that shift. But so I guess after talking about it, I guess now I know. Yeah, I don't think that I would have that or be where I am without that training. I think the training did play a major part of that. Um, because I don't think I would have noticed that shift.
Well, what I think is interesting is like, so I worked at Interlochen. It's a performing arts school in Michigan. It's world renowned. It's been there, I think, getting close to 100 years now. And Sufjan Stevens went there. I think Jewel went there. I think Ani DeFranco went there, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about Jewel, but I'm pretty sure that Ani DeFranco went there, and I'm almost positive Sufjan Stevens was there. And there's a lot of different talent that goes through there. Pretty much every kid that goes to that conservatory, it's high school, during the year it's an academy, and then almost every kid that graduates there goes Ivy League in some form or fashion. It's classical jazz music, right? But the reason I'm bringing that up is to say that there's so many people that are talented musicians, and they can sight read, and they have the logistical part of the mechanics of the instruments down. And I met a lot of those people when I was working there. And I would jam on the pianos, because for me, being at that school was amazing because they had practice halls with Steinway pianos and just very expensive instruments that I would never at that point in time had access to even touch, 30 to 50 to $100,000 harps, 7 foot tall harps, and just so many different instruments that you could put your hands on. I even played my first harpsichord there, right? So it's just crazy. And it was amazing. But what was funny is this kid from China had a conversation with me, and he said, man, I see you in here playing all this stuff, and it's like you're just making it up. And he's like, but it has structure, and I see you play all these different things every day. And he's like, how do you come up with all that stuff on a daily basis? Like, you're just every day you're up here playing. And I said, well, I've seen you looking at sheets of paper all over campus, right? Sheet music. And then
Mhm.
I see you coming here and you're memorizing 12 and 15 pages of music and then playing it. And that's a skill set in itself too. I don't know that I could do that. And I think like what you have, Evan, is the merging of both worlds. You have the academics and kind of the technical aspects of the instrument, and know some of the deeper theory and the fundamentals of the instruments and music in general. But I think you're a highly intuitive, open-hearted dude that has some amazing music that comes from the melding of both of those worlds, the academic and the logistical side of theory, but also the intuitive, emotive based energy that you put in that. And with that being said, man, I think this is a perfect segue to go into Wherever You Are, I Am, the single that you did for Listening to Smile Records. And I would love to talk about both of the tracks and kind of um, I guess this is a two-part question here. The first part is I would really love for you to dive into what was it like whenever we met, and I was like getting you to explore the frequency side of things in music, and like if you could explain your journey into that world. And then two, creating the music that you do for Listening to Smile over the years. Um, it's interesting because when I heard your other bands, it's drastically different, rock and even metal, and a lot of more like rock and roll based stuff. And then, whenever people would hear some of the music you did with Listening to Smile, that would be more electronic or even ballad or pop or, you know, um, just your own style of music, really. But, people would be like, man, I can't believe Evan plays in like a hard rock band or, that
Yeah,
type of.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think like just explaining a little bit about your diversity and a little bit about this album, the single that we put out. So if you could do, I know that's like two or three questions there, but I'm just excited to for people to hear about this part of it.
Yeah, no problem. So with that single, wherever you are, I am. That try to go to the beginning of it. Um, because it's such a simple, to me, it's such a simple song. And it comes from a very simple place, but it's also just, it's huge. It's huge. Um, there's a lot of inspiration in there, historically, emotionally. Um, so that that main line that's in the song, so not the verse, but I guess you would call it the bridge.
Oh, Rich.
Yeah, I guess it'd be the bridge.
Okay.
That lift a rock and you'll find me. Split a piece of wood and I'm there. That's actually from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's where that was pulled from.
Yeah.
Um, because I really like to sprinkle. Well, here I'll just be personal. So my dad was raised Catholic. We were raised non-denominational. My mom is a Messianic Jew. So it's like we're all over the place. But we're raised to just kind of to believe what we want to believe and to have faith, period. Just to have faith in something, whether it's someone, um, like I said, something. It's just to have. My dad said it the best one time for me. He said to that everybody should have faith in something bigger than themselves. Well, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's bigger than yourself. And so that for me was why those lines were important because, you know, lift a rock and you'll find me, split a piece of wood and I'm there. It could literally be a piece of wood this big. It could be a tree in the redwood forest. Bam, split in half.
Yeah.
Whatever you're searching for, whatever you're looking for, is just is around you, is there. It's no matter where you are, I'm there too. Um,
Yeah.
it's I pull things from songs that are so important to me and to my heart. Um, and don't really pull the words or things from them. I pull the messages from them. Um, there's another song that there was a line. It's if it was talking about the points on a map,
Yeah.
and if you so let's say from South Carolina to I don't know, just a state that's 2 inches apart. On a map, it's just 2 inches apart, but it's a great distance away, right?
Yeah.
So that line was just, you know, if we're just an inch apart, then reach out and grab my hand. And it was just like a huge line because it was a recall from a line previously in the song. Um, because the whole thing was a conversation. And I know I just went, it seems like I went all over the place with that, but it's circling back around to how I write and where that comes from and why I can write metal or hard rock or classical or reggae or ska. It doesn't matter because it's all just coming from the same place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
It's all emotions that are expressed in different languages, you know. It's
yeah,
yeah. And I think like that song for me is really powerful. I remember the first time you sent it over for me to listen to, it was very powerful. It stopped me. I really, you know, it demanded attention. It's a great track. And I think the thing that's powerful for me is like I almost feel like it could be a husband to a wife to a husband. It could be God to his children. It could be, you know, people speaking to their children. I mean, it's such a universal language, the way that you wrote the lyrics. It's just basically saying, I got your back, basically. Like I'm with you.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, and I'm just expressing from me what I took from those lyrics. And it's one of the, I remember that was one of the first songs that I was just like, dude, this is like amazing. And I was just, it was so powerful to see the evolution from the beginning of like when we first started playing around with the frequency music and getting you into moving in that direction. And then, you know, and the hopes was I wanted you to record music with listening to Smile. And, you know, a lot of the affiliates and people involved in listening to Smile have come to, you know and love your music. And I think this record label is just going to be a continuation of introducing, you know, new people to that, you know, that heart of who you are as a human being. You know, you're one of the most talented and open-hearted, loving people I've ever met. You know, it's just it's truly an amazing thing. And I feel like that song embodies all of those attributes of you and puts it into one container for people to really enjoy and to get to know you. And I think that's why, you know, in my opinion, we wanted this to be the single that we brought to people first and, you know, expand from that. But so could you do me a favor and could you talk about the B side, like to the single, a little bit about because it's more of an electronic feel. It's a very different feel than the single. So just yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on
yeah.
that.
And this is well, first of all, thank you for those words, man. That was really nice. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Um, what so this is a because I wanted to circle back around to you were asking when um about when I first started writing with the frequency-based music,
Yeah.
and this is a perfect opportunity for that because the B side for that is actually an older song that I had, and I just never there was something about it that I don't know what it was. I never released it, never wanted to release it. It just never felt right. But I was obsessed with the track and I just didn't know what to do with it. Um, and we brought it back up. I remember bringing back to your attention,
Yeah.
like, what do you think about this track? And I sent it to you. And you're like, oh, that's a really cool track. Okay, okay. And then I changed it. I
Yeah.
changed it because at first it was just in, 440.
Yeah.
And then we changed that to what did we? I think we changed it to 432,
I
believe,
I
or
can't
maybe
remember
444. Yeah,
444.
I would have to pull it back up.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but anyways, yeah. So we changed it, and I mean that just changed everything for me as far as a lot of my older music, the way I thought about the older stuff that I was writing as well.
yeah,
Um, and that moment, it was just, oh, wait, these don't have to be two different styles of music. They don't have to be two different things that I do. Um, it could be everything. It doesn't just have to be, oh, I write this way sometimes, I write this way this time, or within this frequency. Um, or I have to have a different artist name, to just to do this, or because no one will get it. it won't sound like regular, or not regular, but the standard popular music.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, I don't know. Every time we do something, it seems like we're breaking down a wall of some stigma, of, oh, you can't do that. There's no way that people will listen to that, or that you'll even enjoy writing that kind of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. It's not the case.
I think, I think, truly, man, I've been really blessed with the community of listening to Smile. That as a musician, I say this a lot to other musicians, and I think you've heard me say it before too, that I am really free for the most part to explore pretty much anything that I want to, as long as I'm sticking to release work and healing as the intention, right, with the music. And then I'm sticking with frequency based music. The community that we have, I mean, they're embracing techno and dance and electronic. They're embracing shamanic drumming and kirtan and light language. And we've done poetry tracks, we've done lo-fi hip hop. I mean, pretty much anything that we throw at them, they're embracing, and we get a lot of feedback. This last album for last month that you put one of your tracks on, I mean, you put three tracks on the last album for Listening to Smile, but one of them really stuck out where a lot of people in the community, because you put your vocals on there, and again, very similar to what you did on the label with Wherever You Are I Am. um it was just light filled lyrics that really connected with people. And I think, like, we're really lucky that we have a community that, as musicians, we've had people asking, can we do frequency music with rock? And it's something that we're going to be working on bringing. I believe, Evan's even looking at creating a side project to bring to the label. So there's a lot of freedom, and when you're embraced with a community that is very supportive of you as an artist. And I think it's something that all musicians deserve and all musicians are looking for in this day and age. And if you're okay, man, like, I don't want to divert too much from this, but I want to talk a little bit about modern music and streaming, right?
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts and feelings on streaming in general? YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, these platforms, that are really the go-tos right now for musicians.
Um, well, I used to use Spotify, um, and I actually I like Spotify. I do. I
Yeah,
did. Now, I like the application. I like the ease of Spotify, I think. I like the collaboration aspect of it. I don't like what they stand for, and what they do and continue to do to artists. I
yeah,
think it's really crazy. There's also, I mean, but it's just there's so many streaming sites out. I use Tidal,
yeah,
um, myself, and a lot of my friends. We made that switch to Tidal. Right now, it's just, to me, it's better in a lot more ways, in a lot more ways, in a lot of ways. For artists, it's better because I think, let's see, right now, I forget how much. What is it? What Spotify is giving artists? What is it right now?
it takes 1 million streams to make about 3,000 US dollars on
Yeah,
Spotify. Yeah,
so that is, let's see here. So right now it's point point 0.005 per stream is what an artist makes right now.
yeah,
US dollar.
mm,
Um, it's not that much better, but title is 0.013
mm.
on the US dollar per stream. So we just trying to do what we can to help. So
Yeah,
I prefer title.
okay,
Another reason why I prefer title though is streaming quality.
Yeah.
The streaming quality is hands down so far that I've tested the best for me. But that's only what iTunes, Spotify, and Tidal. I had Google Play. Google Play's gone, so I do have YouTube Premium, which I think you can still listen to music that way, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. So, you and I both came up around the same time period of playing music and touring, and it used to be that bands would make money from their ticket sales, they'd make money from merchandise, and they would make money from selling albums, CDs, right? Back in the day,
Yeah,
before streaming took over to to the degree that it is now. What I find interesting is there's a lot here to talk about. So we're not going to dive into everything. We should almost have another podcast on this,
yeah, we're
just
gonna need to.
yeah, talk logistics. But basically just skimming the surface, the thing that is really detrimental to the industry, in my opinion, is the algorithms, right? So like when you look at Instagram and you look at the viral clips, um, there if I have a commercial account on Instagram, so a lot of the music that I want to play from my own, it won't let me upload my own music to Instagram, and it'll also limit tons of accounts of music that I would choose. And it's like set to a certain limited, number of music. And
Mhm.
then I also know that a lot of the viral clips are the clips that they're really pushing for people to use. And so you ask yourself, what have these bands done to get on the good side to be served on a platter for these types of opportunities, right? And what I mean by that is that there are tons and tons of bands that have great songs that are being overlooked and not even included in the algorithm. So what I'm really getting at is not fairness, but when we were younger, we would go to record stores and we would find these gems because it was our own, it was basically we were limited to the courage and strength that we had for the day of going through the records, digging through the albums. And
Mhm.
then, tired, this was fun. But, whatever it is, you were unlimited in what you could find. Whatever was in there, you had the option of digging through and looking at and seeing it. But now we have 40,000 songs coming out a day, I think is what the last, stat I heard for Spotify is it's 40,000 new songs a day. And
Yeah.
so there's this algorithm now that shows you when you start searching for music, unless you're looking for a very specific thing, but to find new music, it's really spoon fed to you through the algorithms. And it's really limited to what you can really find. Even whenever you listen to something cool on Spotify and you go to like the radio and try to listen, if you notice, if you start listening to similar bands, it starts pulling up similar music for you to listen to. So it's very limited. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the degree to which it's being censored, what you can actually see. Just like I think a lot of people don't realize how censored Google is when you do a search for something, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So getting back on topic, one of the things that we're really supporting is Bandcamp because Bandcamp is transparent and then it's also almost immediate. I think it takes one day from the time you make a sale to the time they deposit the money into the artist's bank account. And I mean, obviously, everything has room to grow, just like our company has room to grow, and we're learning every day. These other companies, no matter how large they are, hopefully are doing
Mhm.
the same. But for me, hands down, if you buy music from an artist instead of streaming, that is 100% the way to support that artist in a much, much bigger way. So what I mean by that is like, an album that costs 10, 15, $20, you send that money, that artist is making about like let's say a $25 album and you purchase that from them. About $22 of that is actually going to the artist from Bandcamp. And it's one of the most quick and most transparent and most the largest way that I can see someone supporting an artist besides buying merchandise or going to a ticketed show, right? These are
Hmm.
ways that people can really support an artist. And I think quickly, I just want to say that a lot of people think that famous musicians are just rolling in the dough, and I don't think they realize the severity of where the industry is, where people that are on top 40 radio um, sometimes are just struggling so much because of the contracts they've signed, the streaming deals, I remember TLC when they Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls was like the hit. I think they were making 7 cents an album, which is insane.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, so it was something crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my point is like, I just want to put this out there that if people want to support artists like Evan or people on our label or just people in general, one of the best things that I think you can do is find them on Bandcamp, look them up on Bandcamp, download the album. And the thing that's really awesome about this is that if the internet goes down or something's censored or something happens to let's say some power outage hits and something's the streaming services are down, you have an ability to listen to the music whenever you want. You own it, and I think there's something to be said for that. It's just something that, I mean, I'm finding myself going back and listening to vinyl records and CDs, and like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
the quality, but also just owning it and being able to go through the art and the liner notes. So, anyways, let's get back on task. so,
Wait, that's
so
not the task?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we're here for you, Evan. We're here for you, right? So,
No.
so, so I just wanted to touch on those things so that people know that they can reach out to you, purchase albums from you directly through Bandcamp on the Listening to Smile record site. They can, support you in a way that's more meaningful and more direct and quick. And it's not, like iTunes, I think it's a 3 month or 4 month turnaround before they give you payments from albums that you've sold. And there's no transparency. They just kind of send you a report at the end of that 3 or 4 month period. So you have no real way of finding out how things are going on those accounts, which is, I think, is ludicrous. So that's what I wanted to say. Direct way to support Evan and what he's doing. And then, Evan, for the last two questions, what I'd really like to dive into is what were your first memories with music? Like, as far as, like, I remember going to a party in high school and watching some of my friends do a cover band. And I just remember in that moment saying, I want to do this. I want to learn. I think that, that week I picked up the guitar and started playing. Do you have a memory that was, that you can go back to that really is the point where you realize like this is the moment that I'm going to do music like as a mission in life?
Um, that's a really good question. I don't know. I don't think there was one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's one moment and there was one memory. I think for me, for me, throughout my years, there's been a whole um just sprinkling of experiences that just kind of solidified that for me, that that's what I needed to do for, for from forever, as long as I could. Um, it just you just know. I don't know how else to explain it. I just don't I don't know. It's such a I guess a higher calling. There's no way to explain it but to just say that. To
Yeah.
just yeah, yeah. I
So
just
so
knew.
what I'm getting from what you're saying is basically like it just kept coming up ever present in your face, like this is your mission, and it just wasn't going away. There was just something that was like really leading you to that path so many times that it was like undeniable for you to make that transition.
I just don't think that I could I don't there's no way that I could imagine or envision life without um music at all, but just the ability to play music too would just I just don't see that for me. Um but yeah, I don't know how I would just go through life without that for me.
Yeah,
Everybody, that's what I mean about that thing that the people need.
yeah,
That I think that's how strong people should feel for that thing, is how I feel about music and the creative process and art in general. Um, that's how strongly I feel about it. Um, so
okay, okay, cool. And then the last thing that I would really like for people to understand about you is like the mental health aspect of creativity, like what it's brought to your life as far as having that outlet. Because I know like you're a photographer, you do graphic design, video editing, you can play multiple instruments, you're a very talented creative person. These outlets of creativity, what has that meant for your life? And is there any kind of stories around that that you could share, the significance of what that is in your life?
um, so the significance of just mental health in
No, well,
general.
as these creative outlets, like the role that they play in your
Oh,
mental state.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Well, that I think that's where it all began for me in general. Even before I understood what was happening with music, that is what was happening with music when I was that young, 7 years old, on the piano every day, just playing and playing, you know, in my own little world, doing my own little thing, minding my own little business. That was my therapy. And, as I got older and I talked to my parents and, they would just, explain and tell me stories of how I was and how I would act when I was younger. Um, and they would tell me, that I was I was just, it's weird because I'm a people person, but I'm also a huge introvert.
yeah,
Um, and I've always been that way. Uh, and but when it comes to music, it's just I don't know. I mean, I'll play in front of one person and I get the same jitters as I do playing in front of, 1,000. It's just it's something about being in that headspace that is the same. So growing up, um, so this is weird for me. But I think it does play a huge factor in this conversation. So when I was younger, when I would play piano,
yeah,
especially when I would come home, let's say from school, and then I would just jump on the piano, I would be usually I'd be by myself at that point when I get home. And that's when I would just go free and I would just start composing, composing, composing. I would never practice. That would not be practice time. That would be composition time. As soon as somebody would get home, I just couldn't do it anymore.
yeah,
And it was like that for years. Um, and this is a personal thing, but it's important. I don't mind talking about it. What would happen was growing up, my father and my parents, they were just very proud of their kids growing up playing music or whatever. So if people came over or we went somewhere, if there was a piano, they'd make us play. We'd have to play.
Yeah,
Uh, for me, that that did something to me. It gave me some kind of complex. I'm not sure, but so from then on out, I hated playing in front of people. So I would just spend a ton of time in my room, which is fine by me because I had, my music gear and I would just go to town and that would be my therapy. That was the start of my therapy with music was
yeah,
to get away from all of that. I would just go play but that was when I guess when I got my first keyboard where I could go to my room.
yeah,
Um, but at that point, it did help me. It helped me get through a lot. But, maybe there's another podcast we should do about mental health, period, because
yeah.
that's a whole nother important thing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but music, yeah, music was everything, and it is still everything to me, and it is a huge form of therapy for me. What, not just composing it and writing it, but just listening. Whether
yeah,
it's whether it's my one of my favorite old school tracks, something I've been listening to for 30 years or so, or just discovering new stuff, going down a rabbit hole. I love that still.
yeah.
Um, or like you said, putting on a record, just that whole
Experience.
process, the
Yeah.
whole process of even just going through your records and picking that one out, looking at them, opening it up, looking at the record. Oh yeah, I forgot this was splattered vinyl. This was great. Look at that.
Hmm.
Get them to light, and then putting that record down and deciding, do I start from the top or do I just skip right to my favorite track? It's just there's just so much about music in general. That's
Yeah, yeah.
fun, so you don't have to be a musician
To
to
get the
have that
benefit.
same, yeah, to have that same exact feeling.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many times, man, I can think of music saving my life, just being in challenging moments and really having those go-to tracks or music that helps you cry, helps you release frustration or anger, or just gives you a new perspective. And I mean, think about it from making love to plant journeys to being alone in solitude and hearing the music, or just like you said, new things. I think some of the most exciting things is when you find a new band or artist and you're listening and you don't know what's coming next,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just exploring that is truly magical experience. But yeah, man. So to close this up, what are your thoughts on the album? Like what would you tell someone the single that you've put out? You're gonna have another single coming here in the next month or two. What would you tell someone that has never heard your music that like what would your invitation be for them to check out this single?
Um, the single is an invitation into into me.
Yeah.
Invitation into me. I will never tell you what to expect
Yeah.
because I don't know what to expect. What when I sit down and put my hand on the keys, whatever's coming out is coming out. But for that song in general, um, I don't know. Why you always ask me questions like this? It's a tough question too. All right.
It's a tough question. It's
That's why you
okay.
saved it for last. That's why you saved it for
Yeah,
last.
so,
No, hold on. Let me try. Let me try. Let me try. Let me try. Hold on. Here we go. Good question, Ian. Let's see here. I would say nope, still got nothing. Got nothing. Nope. Just to check it out, and I really would appreciate it. And I I write from the heart. I write from the heart, and that's it. So hopefully if you like my music, then you align with my heart too. So and then we can just keep going on the same journey.
Yeah.
Um,
So in the comments for this video, we're going to place a, connection to you on social media, and then also on listeningtosmile.com. You can find LTS records in the menu search bar, or you can just go to LTS records.org, O-R-G. Is that correct, Evan? That's right, right?
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, ltsrecords.org. And you can go straight to the site where you can purchase Evan's album, find the Evan Lampkin in the menu, and then search on his albums there. You can click and purchase wherever you are, I am. And so it's a tremendous song, like we've talked about, and go check it out. And thanks so much, Evan, for being here today. We really appreciate all your contributions to everything from the magazine to the record label to listening to Smile, the company. And we love you, brother. Thanks for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.